Hi, my name's Adia. I'm a Girl Scout from Troop 232. I did my Silveroid project on spreading awareness about sexual assault in our community. I hosted an event where teen girls could come and learn about what sexual assault is and how to prevent against it. I then interviewed these girls about one important thing that they found that they learned at the events, and added clips from the actual event to show you what it was like. I hope I hope after watching these interviews that you learn a little more about sexual assaults and why it's so important to learn about it. Thank you.
I'm here with Ramya today, who attended the event. I'm going to be asking her a few questions. So, one question I want to ask you is there anything that you learned from the event that you are still implementing in your daily life?
Before, I thought sexual assault was just rape, and now I know that's more than just that.
Thank you.
However, it is important for you guys to understand that as a culture, as a society, we're shifting away from the term rape and we're using sexual assault because it covers and protects more victims. And when we think about rape, when you guys first learn it, it has to be something violent and gruesome. And that's not always the case. Sometimes sexual assaults happen and you're getting coerced into it.
I wanted to ask you, what was one important thing that you learned at this event?
What I learned was how to implement tactics in real life when faced with sexual harassment. The instructor at the event taught us ways to do this in really realistic situations, well, as realistic as possible. And I thought that was very helpful.
Thank you.
Of course.
Taller, bigger, come out. Okay, so he showed me, right? It would make no sense for me to try to get him this way. So I'm gonna go through this way to get the technique. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So, Lucky, I wanted to ask you a question about the event. What is one thing that you found that was really important that you learned at the event?
I learned that sexual assault can occur during relationships.
Okay, thank you.
Relationship violence, so unfortunately, just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean that your partner's gonna honor you. So sometimes there may be violence.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, since you attended the event, what is one thing that you think was really important that you learned at the event?
I think the slideshow in the beginning, because it was really informative, and I feel like it gave good background information on why we're doing this and the worst case scenario.
Okay.
The topic today is going to be sexual violence. I know that it may seem a little weird and it can make us laugh or giggle, but make sure that we're respecting the topic because statistically speaking, in a room like this, at least one or more people in this room have been experienced some form of sexual violence, whether that's directly, so it happened directly to them, or indirectly, it happened to someone they know and love. So we want to make sure that we're respecting the topic.
I'm here today to ask her a few questions about my silver award. What was one thing that you learned that you found really important during the event?
So basically, I learned how to deal with and prevent abuse in a hands-on way where we partnered up and practiced self-defense, where we dealt with situations such as being choked or punched, and even some knife scenarios, which I think was really useful, and I still think about it a lot.
Thank you.
I want to step behind him. Now, there's several things I have to do, but I'm going to do just a couple of them so you guys understand. First thing you want to do is don't panic. You want to come up a little bit so they can see us. You don't want this position. Did you see that little move?
Oh.
That's to keep from getting choked out. You tuck that chin immediately. Okay, start choking. You immediately go like this and get that chin in there. Now I can breathe because I'm talking, right? I don't look cool, but I'm alive. All right? So that's the first thing you want to do. Okay, if you can. Then you want to block, if you have one like me, a pretty face. So we're down like this. My chin is in. Now I can breathe. Now, this is a double. What happens if he has just one hand here and he's ready to slug me? Look. Right? So you turn away. Watch this hand. Here.
I wanted to ask you a few questions about the event. What was one thing that you found really important or something that stood out to you about the event?
One thing that I found really important is that they taught us about self-defense and
how to defend ourselves if we get into any trouble, because trouble can happen to anybody, and it's nice to know that I can make sure I don't get hurt.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you a question about the event. What was one thing that you learned at the event that really stood out to you, and why?
I learned that I'm not good at punching people or self-defense, but I got to do them, and it was fun. Also, I learned that I am not good with knives at all.
Okay, thank you.
And you're relying on power. Okay? Don't rely on power. Okay, so let me show you. Choke me. First thing you're gonna do, she's gonna base so she's more strong. She's not gonna stand up and do that because I can walk right out. She's gonna grab me, get down on the floor, and then now she's either gonna punch me out with her hand. Okay? Yeah. Okay?
Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. I hope you understood the meaning of this video and why it was created. The goal of this is to help spread awareness about this topic and decrease the taboo around it. Because even though it's a hard thing to discuss, it's very important that we do with our young teens, because it is essential to protecting them from the future and growing stronger against it. Thank you so much, and I hope you learned something.